On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks go down 0-3 to the Golden State Warriors. What did we overestimate with this Dallas Mavericks team? Is the series over? Do they have any signs that they can make a comeback from down 0-3? We'll talk about all that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where I'm sure the comment section will be cordial as hell today. The best way to help grow the show is to comment anything below on YouTube, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We're a 5-day-a-week Dallas Mavericks podcast, including the offseason. No days off, except for like Saturday and Sunday. But we don't stop when the Mavericks stop. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you cover the season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com. The Wiggins Warrior, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Andrew Wiggins, welcome to the NBA.
Welcome to the dunker spot, Andrew Wiggins.
Man, I was an insane dunk. You know, obviously down 0-3, it sucks. There's no other way around it. It sucks really bad. But you know, it's kind of like my daughter fell down on the sidewalk like last week, and she like scraped her knee. And it's like, obviously I love my daughter so much, but it's one of those moments where like she fell down, she tripped over something, she scraped her knee, we bandaged it up, put the little Neosporin on it and all this stuff. But it's like that moment of like, dang, I hate this that you scraped your knee, but it's like this learning moment too. Like you get stronger by that. And she's like, hey, I'm going to put the Band-Aid on it. I'm going to go. She walked like funny and, but she's now
Did she
it's
limp?
Like, she did. She kind of like waddled and it was like the funniest thing.
Are you saying she flopped into the pavement?
She didn't flop. But no, that in a way, that's kind of like how I'm viewing this Mavericks, series right now, that it sucks, man. It really does. As Mavs fans, this is the last thing we wanted. We wanted this series to bounce back in game 3 and say, hey, we got this, be 2-1 with game 4 coming. But man, it just, Golden State's playing really dang good basketball. And we're going to talk about why they lost this game and everything. But I'm looking at it right now saying this is a learning moment for them. We'll talk about the things they can get better at and things that they failed at. Somebody tweeted at me tonight and said, hey, shouldn't we just be glad that we're here? The Armor Reyes tweeted at both of us, said in the beginning of the season, could you imagine the Mavs would even make it this far?
What if I told you?
We've been saying this the whole time before this series. After the Jazz series, we said, it's a success. This season is a success because just making it past the first round was that step. They obviously beat the Suns. And now this Warrior series has happened. We'll view it from that angle after this series is over. But for right now, we can be in this moment and be like, I think you can ride the in-between of, man, I'm glad we're here. This was a successful season. And this still sucks at the same time. It's a sucky feeling.
One would say that this Mavericks team is light years ahead of where they expected to be. I was visibly frustrated after this game.
This game, like 10 minutes ago. Not even that, like 2 minutes ago.
Well, it is currently still after this game. From now until the end of time is considered after this game. Isaac was like poking fun at me and like throwing jokes at me because he was like had that same exact like mentality he just said, and I was just sitting here visibly frustrated. So I think we're gonna ride both lines here on the show today.
You were mad because you're reading Warriors tweets right now. That does no good.
They were unhinged, not as unhinged as some of their reporters, but definitely unhinged. The Mavericks, it was right there for them. Like it was right there, and a couple of these games have been right there for them, right? Like they have leads in some of these games. There's just moments where you're like, they're right there. They have this. Like there's moments where you just feel like they can get there. But their margin of error is just so small. It's so small in a series like this, especially playing a team like this in the Warriors, and for the Warriors to have all the talent that they have. I mean, that was clear from the start. This Warriors team is so talented. The Warriors are more talented than the Suns, right? They have more guys, and they were missing a ton of those guys throughout this season, and they had been putting it all together. They're finally back and pretty much all healthy at this point. And it's just all come together for this Warriors team in a way that it just hasn't come together for the Mavericks in this series. Now, it came together for the Mavericks in the Suns series, but all that stuff builds up, and all the minutes and all the different things, like, it wears. I mean, this has not been the Dorian Finney-Smith that we've been used to seeing. He had 3 offensive rebounds in this game, which is a positive. He hit 2 of his threes, but this is not a Dorian that we've seen, in the past, because he's got to chase around Steph Curry. They just make it hard for you. This Warriors team makes it so hard for the Mavericks to win the way that they want to win, and they look overmatched right now, and it just is what it is. And I'm frustrated because it was right there for him. And Luka has played well offensively. Brunson has gotten his stuff. Dinwiddie finally played a really good game at 26 points in this game. Nobody hit a 3, and that's the margin of error for the Mavericks. Is just if they don't hit 3s, everything else falls apart. And they went 13 of 45 in this game, hit 29% of their 3s, and it just didn't work for them. It wasn't in the cards.
Yeah, we said this a little bit ago before we started the pod that they're losing in different ways. Like a lot of times we talk about how great teams, win in different ways and all these different schemes or whatever. And Dallas is now 3 games in, they're losing different ways of, in game 2, they were up by 19 points. They blow that lead. They end up, they give up 126 points to the Warriors. They score 117 points in that game. And it's like, dang, where was the defense in this game? You can't give up 126 points. Like, if you put up 117 on the Warriors, you need to be walking away from that game, especially if you were up by 19. You have to walk away from that game with a win. And you hit 21 3-pointers, but they lost.
How about this? Another new way for the Mavericks to win. They've been negative they've been negative in all of the Luka minutes.
Yeah, I've seen somebody put that. Yeah.
Like, they've been so negative in all the Luka minutes. Like, the Mavericks just don't win games when Luka is he was a negative 19 in this game. He was a negative 12 in game 2. He was a negative 30 in game 1. Like, they don't win games, and now they're losing Luka minutes. Like, they just don't lose Luka minutes usually during the playoffs. And this has been a series where they're losing them comfortably, like very visibly losing their Luka minutes.
Yeah, it's so hard to talk about Luka Doncic's game, especially from a Mavs podcast angle, because the moment you say anything that is remotely like, oh, Luka's not the greatest human being to ever walk the face of the earth, then you get some feedback from that. But Luka on the defensive side of the ball tonight was brutal. Like, it was really, really bad. And on offense, he puts up 40 points, 21 of those points came in the fourth quarter. A handful of those points came there towards the end of him hitting a few 3s. He should have had way more assists in this game. So if you see any tweet
15, 16,
or
17.
any analyst that's on TV saying, well, ball hog Luka, he should have had more assists in this game. Yeah, he should have had more assists, but that's not because he didn't pass it. It's because his teammates didn't hit the shots.
Mavs missed 32 threes. How many of those do you think came from Luka? I'm gonna guess like
38.
Yeah.
But on defense, Luka was really, really bad. And there's just no other way around it. They were targeting him. Bob Voulgaris tweeted out towards the end of the games, they're targeting LD every time at this point. Even that last Jordan Poole 3, which we had that little glimmer of hope there of like, oh, are they going to make this late run here and try to pull this off? That happened because Klay Thompson just drove right past Luka. They had to close in. Poole hits the 3, blows the kiss to the crowd. Steph Curry, how many times tonight? For all the Mavs fans out there saying, what? Why are we blitzing Steph Curry for? Well, guess what they held off on some tonight was blitzing Steph Curry at times, and they just elected to just do the full switch, Luka on Steph. At first, wasn't too bad, but there were different times Steph just went right past Luka, straight to the rim, layup at the rim. And it's like Luka's got to be able to hold his own on that, and he can't be a traffic cone on defense, especially late in the game when he is tired. It's just part of it. He's tired, and he doesn't have the energy. Boxing out, you're seeing that too, to where they're just getting rebounds over him. There was an offensive board there in the fourth quarter that, they got the board, went right back up, Andrew Wiggins. So it's just, non-offense for Luka tonight was brutal.
And you talk about everything building on each other, right? Like they missed three. Okay, they missed threes. Luka has to work super hard to get these shots because the Warriors' perimeter defense is really good. Draymond, Wiggins, Clay, when they throw out, they throw out Otto Porter there before he got injured, which stinks for him. And then you get into Kevon Looney. Like they can't just do the same kind of things that they've been trying to do. So Luka has to work super hard to create these shots. He's working super hard. They missed the threes. Well, then he has to work even harder because they're now all of a sudden going into a zone, which makes it so much harder for Luka to work against. And so he's working extra hard. And then he comes back to the defensive end and he's got nothing left, right? So it all kind of builds on each other. The Mavericks need extra, options on offense, and it seemed like they even kind of got some with Brunson and Dinwiddie in this game, but it wasn't enough. They need extra options to be able to work defenses like this so that Luka doesn't have to be the only guy getting attacked on the other end, so that they can cover him a little bit more. It's like they need an extra thing on offense to be able to build with Luka, and they also need a couple extra like good defenders so Luka just can't be targeted, because look at what's happening on the other end. Steph Curry, they tried to target him. They've tried to target him. But when you have Wiggins, Draymond, Clay, and Looney as the other four guys out there with Curry, it's so much easier for them to find ways to hedge and to hedge and recover and to make up for the Curry getting attacked, that he doesn't get stuck on an island one-on-one very much at all unless it's just on Brunson, and they're kind of okay living with those plays at this point. So we're looking at the difference between these two teams. And that's the reason why the Mavericks are down 0-3. But coming up, let's talk about a couple other reasons why this Mavericks team was just so close in this game. They had options. They had opportunities in this game. They had a 9-point lead in the second quarter. What happened after that? We'll talk about that and more coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Sakara. Sakara is a lifestyle. Sakara helps you with meals and snacks, and they give you a plan to help you fuel your body through the power of plants. It's a wellness company anchored in food as medicine, with their mission to nourish your body through the power of plants. Gives you the tools you need to transform your life with their organic, ready-to-eat meal delivery program and functional wellness essentials. You've heard about the meal delivery systems. They'll give you the ingredients and send you meals and all that kind of stuff. But this one wants you to eat healthy. I have this problem all the time where I'm like, dang, I want to eat something, but I want to eat healthy. The only way to get quick meals around here, it seems like, is fast food, and then you're just stuck in this vicious cycle of wanting to eat fast and wanting to eat healthy. Sakara will help you with that. My wife was eating them while we were on our trip to Golden State, and she loved them. She usually hates salads, but she has loved Sakara's salads. She's loved the snacks. They have functional, plant-rich wellness essentials to help you create a body you love living in. From their best-selling Metabolism Super Powder to the Foundation, their daily supplement pack, Sakara's products are designed to support your wellness. Go to Sakara, and they're offering our listeners a 20% off discount with their first order. Go to sakara.com/lockedon20. That's SAKARA.com/lockedon20. The number 2, the number 0, locked 20 to get 20% off. Sakara.com/locked20. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Make sure to go check out the Locked On NBA Big Board Show with host Rafael Barlow from DFW and Richard Stamen, a.k.a. Mavs Draft on Twitter. They have everything for the NBA Draft, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Isaac. We've been talking a lot about Luka Doncic and his defense, right? His defense was one of the reasons why the Mavs lost this game, and that's pretty clearly. I don't care what what bias you have or what you're looking at. There's reasons for it, but just go look at Andrew Wiggins' shot chart. Andrew Wiggins is going to get his moment in the sun right now. There's going to be a lot of talk about Andrew Wiggins, how good he was, how he's looking like a number 1 pick. He's back. His defense has been really good. For sure, on Luka. He stayed ahead. He stayed in front of him. We've praised him before about how he hasn't fouled. Wiggins is honestly playing better defense, it seems, than like Mikal Bridges, which is kind of wild to me because Mikal Bridges was, I thought, one of the best Luka defenders in the NBA. But Wiggins has been great. It helps to have the it honestly helps to have the backup of Draymond on one side and Looney on the other side. It's wild to have that as your 1-2, as a backline defense. But just go look at Andrew Wiggins' shot chart. He made 1 3. He missed 1, 2, 3, 4 other threes. He missed 3 mid-range jumpers, and he just hit all the rest of his shots inside the restricted zone. Like, I think his dunk on Luka was the farthest shot away that he made besides that 1-3 that he made. And it's all just because they set him up the same way they set Looney up in game 2. They put him in the dunker spot. Luka had to come over and help, and they tried to attack Luka, and they were successful at it. Nobody else was back there to defend, and so Wiggins got a bunch of dunks in this game.
Well, he also had 6 offensive rebounds. And, this is something with this Warriors team that, when you're a slow-paced team like Dallas, well, what can you do if you're Golden State? Well, you can crash 2 on the offensive boards because you don't have the danger of a Dallas team getting the.
Because you got time.
No.
You got time to get something to eat.
Because you don't have to worry about Dallas getting the ball and run up and down the floor because they're not a fast paced team. So they're crashing these boards with Wiggins and Looney, and that's why tonight, the rebounding stuff, we talk about it all the time. It's the offensive rebounding. Like I joke about the rebounding matchup not being the end all tell all because how many of these teams lose these rebounding battles, including Golden State at times, and then they win these games. But I care more about offensive rebounding than I do total rebounds. And tonight they had 14 offensive rebounds. Golden State did, and Andrew Wiggins had 6 of those. So that's where Wiggins is having a heck of a series, like a heck of a series on, 27 points tonight. Obviously he's playing good defense, but I just want to say this about Luka. Luka's defense isn't the only reason they lost tonight. We're not putting all the blame on Luka, but it's okay to say that Luka can improve. Like, this is Luka's quote after the game. He said, "The first 3 quarters, I played very bad. That's on me. I'm still learning. I think after the season is done, whenever we are, I'm going to look back and learn a lot of things. This is my first conference finals in the NBA. I'm 23, man. I'm still learning a lot." Like, this dude he's 23, first conference finals. Yeah. He's like, I'm still learning. Like, I'm going to look back on the season and see what I have to learn. And it's okay for us to say Luka Doncic is a top 5 player in the NBA. He's the player that every single franchise would start their franchise with right now.
Correct.
If they could. Like, it's okay to say all of that and still say, hey, the next level for him to get to is to get in better shape to where he can be better on defense. And not just be better on defense, but be better on defense late in the game to where his conditioning will help him be a better defender in the fourth quarter, help him box out and have that energy to, keep guys off the offensive glass where he's not getting targeted as much as what he did. So that I wanted to point that out because that is the next stage for him. And tonight it was evident. And I think that's what he's going to look back on and say, hey, what can I learn from this deep playoff run? It's, hey, this is where that conditioning is really going to help me out.
Yeah, between that quote and between Jason Kidd's quote about, hey, everybody picked us to win the title. That was a joke. You should take that as a joke. Like, he was joking with the media. They're ahead of schedule with this, right? I mean, this is where we say everything that happens after the first round series was gravy for the Mavericks, was extra. They got a win against the Suns. That was an incredible franchise, changing probably moment for the Mavericks. It showed confidence in a lot of their role players, showed confidence in Luka, showed confidence in Brunson. There's a lot of really good things to take from the season. And so now you start taking the lessons. Now you start taking okay, what separates us from a title winning team? And I think in this game, if you want to take some positives from this game showed all the things that the Mavericks struggle with that they need to address on the roster, right? Luka, it's got to be a little bit better defensively, but they also have to help him both on offense and on defense so that he isn't the only one that is able to create offense and the only one that's getting attacked on defense, right? Like, they have to be able to cover for him in similar ways that the Warriors have done with Steph Curry. This Warriors team is so much more talented than the Mavericks. Like, they have a guy like Wiggins that can have a 27-point night on any given day, but also, Curry and Clay can have one, and Poole could have one, and Looney can have, his finishing around the rim and have a really good game, and Draymond can have like a 10 assist game in certain games and hit a backpack wearing 3, and like, they have these guys that can go off, and the Mavericks have 3 guys. They have Luka, Brunson, and Dinwiddie. Those guys can go off. Everybody else is just reliant on 3s, and that's it. And it's tough to be in that situation. And now the Mavericks are learning from it, and they're moving forward. And but everything they struggle with in this game, to my point, is something that we knew they would struggle with. Points in the paint, got outscored by 12. Second chance points, Golden State 18-4 in second chance points.
That's where those 14 offensive rebounds came into play.
For sure. They struggled with, stopping runs, which is like what a young team, an inexperienced young team does. There's just a lot of different things that they learned in this game that proves,
what to help out with stopping runs? Timeouts. I'm just kidding. Kidding, guys.
I gave Jason Kidd flack, but he took a bunch of timeouts in this game, and it didn't seem to matter at times in this game because the Warriors just have, they're ready for them. They're ready for him, and they just come out and keep doing the same things.
Luka threw down that one-handed dunk, and Steve Kerr called timeout. I almost tweeted out and said, hey, Steve Kerr knows when to call timeouts.
But he did, though. That was a big moment. So that Luka dunk was 9 minutes and 38 seconds left in the fourth quarter. It felt like it was done. The Mavericks were down by 12. Like, it just felt like they were out of the game. End of the third quarter was just really tough. Luka was getting really in his head with the refs. And then all of a sudden he hits that dunk. The crowd gets back into it. Maybe a sign of life. And then Golden State calls a timeout right there. Come out of it. Luka hits a step back three. And then they get a couple more moments where it feels like they're going to get back into it. And then there's, a timeout, or the Wiggins dunk happened or something like that. And Steve Kerr can do the thing where he doesn't call a timeout because his team can go out there and figure it out, right? Because that team's been together and they know. But yeah, Kid did call timeouts in this game. And he ran out of options. One thing that they changed that we had talked about before was, will they just punt on the Ntilikina, Josh Green minutes? Will they just say, hey, the defense is good from you guys, but we're getting 0 from you on offense? And they gave all those minutes to Spencer Dinwiddie. They gave a couple of them to Davis Bertans, who played about 13 minutes. I said, hey, we're just going to go all in on Dinwiddie, go all in on Luka and Dorian playing 40 minutes, and Bullock playing 40 minutes, and Brunson playing 37 minutes, and then just not have these guards that are kind of liabilities for us. And the Mavericks are without a couple rotation players in the lineup. That to have these guys play so many minutes, that's another weakness for this Mavericks team. They need a couple more players at the top, and they also need another a couple more rotation players. Now maybe Tim Hardaway is that guy for next year, but they still need another guy in that rotation for sure, at the very least.
Yeah, so let's talk about those role players in the third segment. And let's talk about the lack of shooting tonight. Obviously, it was a brutal night for Reggie, Dorian. Let's talk about these guys in the supporting cast.
But before we do, let me tell you about BetOnline. Can't imagine they have the odds up for Mavs Warriors right now. They don't. This is wild. Celtics Heat. The series line right now. Who do you think is favored, and what do you think the line is? Series line, the money line.
Miami's favored.
Heat minus 115.
Okay.
Celtics minus 105. They're just hedging on that one. That was fascinating to me. I'm really interested to see how that one plays out. Who do you think is favored in the next game? So game 4 for them. Who do you think is favored in that game? It's Boston at home. Boston is favored by 6.5 points. So if you're feeling good about that, want to win money on, I guess, either of these teams? I guess you're not winning money on either of these teams right now for the series line. So go check it out. They also have NBA draft stuff. Who's the number one pick? Jabari Smith is the favorite right now, but Paolo, I feel like Paolo is going to be the pick. He's plus 475 to be the number one pick. So if you want to get in on that one early, go check out BetOnline. Check it out, all the odds and trends. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Isaac Harris. So we talked about Luka. We've given Luka both his credit, which Luka offensively was incredible in this game. 40 points, 11 boards. Should have had like 15 assists. Hit 4 of his 9 threes. 14 of 17 from the free throw line. Like, just, had an incredible offensive game. Struggled defensively.
Should have been a triple-double, like you said. Like,
should have been.
Should have hit the shots, and he would have had a 40.
Should have been easily a triple-double for him. But another one of the reasons why the Mavericks lost this game was the role players. Role players didn't hit shots. Bullock was 0 for 7 from 3. He was 0 of 10 from the field. He did have 4 assists and 2 steals. He was chasing around. I thought he played some pretty good defense in this game, but he missed shots. Dorian only got 5 threes in this game, and that shows that he's not getting to his spots and moving around on offense as well, because he's having to chase around Steph Curry. Maxey went 0 of 5 from 3 in this game, and Maxey was back in his head. It felt like that was that slump at the end of the season for him. He's passing up threes at times. Dinwiddie was the only guy really hitting threes, and he still missed 6 of them. But yeah, and then Dwight Powell is still like unplayable in this series, and it was even worse in this game tonight. But the Mavericks role players is just another reason why the Mavericks lost this game. That's part of their margin for error. If those role players aren't hitting threes, the team's not winning. Just is what it is.
I just think it's adding up for the role players. I think it's adding up for Dorian and Reggie and Maxey and these guys. You know, I went back and looked at one of my previous tweets coming out of the Jazz series and saying, you know, Dorian has played in X amount of minutes out of the total minutes he could play. And I mean, he played in almost every dang minute of that series because they had to, because it's basically him and Reggie as the only perimeter guys on defense. I actually looked up a little bit ago and I was like, I wonder if there's a big minute or difference between, you know, like some of these Warriors guys and like Dorian and Reggie Bullock. Listen to this real quick. So they've played two more games than the Warriors in the playoffs.
The Mavericks have played 2 more games.
The Mavericks played 2 more games than the Warriors in total in the playoffs. So Wiggins has played roughly, after tonight's game, he's played roughly 461 minutes in the playoffs.
Okay.
Reggie Bullock has played 631 minutes. So, I mean, you just do your math on that. And it's like, and I'm not saying that that's the, you know, like, oh,
it's adding up. The reason why the Mavericks have gotten here is because these guys can play that minute load. They've had to play these guys because their rotation is so short, and it's what got them here, but it's also what's gonna do them in, right? Like,
yeah. And am I saying that if they played them in the first round, that this would be a totally different series? I'm not technically saying that either, but I do think these Mavs players would, especially the wings. It just feels like Dorian. It feels like Maxey, Reggie. At times, it feels like you were finally starting to see this kind of longer playoff run. Whenever you're running these guys, not just playing a ton of minutes, but like hard minutes, chasing to guys like Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell and, you know, Steph Curry and these guys for 3 straight series. It's adding up, and it's a focus for this roster moving forward of, you got to have at least one more other guy on the wing, at least one more. I mean, arguably, sure, a second guy too, to where you have 3 or 4 of these guys that can have some type of depth, but we got to get more than a 6, possibly 7 man. I mean, it's Dinwiddie off the bench. Maxey's not playing well. And then after that, you're like trying to make some minutes work with Bertans or Frank or some of these guys. Like, you just got to have a little bit more depth.
Or like a solid guy that can guard guards, right? Like Bullock and Finney-Smith are also being pulled out of their positions because they had to, you know, guard guards. I think it was either Mike Prada. Yeah, I think it was Mike Prada tweeted, you know, a lot of people say that a Swiss Army knife on defense is used all the time for like all these different players. He said, but Dorian Finney-Smith really is a Swiss Army knife on defense. They've had to use him in so many different ways, and now he's had to chase Mitchell. He's had to chase, you know, Booker and Chris Paul, and now he's having to chase like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. It's just wearing on him, right? Yeah. And so the Mavericks are seeing that, but this is what it takes to be a championship level team. You have to have that many guys, and you have to have that many guys that are on that level. And we're seeing the difference between the Mavericks right now and the Warriors right now. That difference in minutes is striking. To play 200 more minutes in a playoff run.
Not right at it, but basically like what, 170, you know, difference between the two.
Between 400 and 600. I mean, it's like a lot. It's a lot of minutes, but it's because this Warriors team is deeper and they're able to play less guys, and they even shored up their rotation in this game too. No Damian Lee minutes. Toscano Anderson came back and played like 5 minutes. They played Moses Moody 16, but Otto Porter had to be out because of that injury that he went out with. But their starters played a bunch of minutes for them. You just look at the difference between what the Maverick starters had to play and what's a lot for them and what's a lot for this Warriors team.
And it's maybe not even, hey, we got to add 1 or 2 people, but it's the thing that we've talked about a lot, roster construction, that we've always liked these role guys. It's just they've always had to play in this kind of upper weight class. We're like, man, they're almost asking too much of them. Yeah. So maybe you go out and you get a guy that pushes some of these guys down to where Dwight Powell. We've been talking about Dwight Powell. It's like Dwight Powell, he would be great coming off the bench. Bring him off the bench in these situational moments where, depending on the team or the matchup, and play 10 to 15 minutes. If he's coming off the bench, it's much different than him being a starting center and he's only playing 7 minutes tonight. So that's the type of stuff of, you either add a few more pieces to it or you go into it saying, hey, we're going to add, which I think that they're going to try to do probably in the offseason, saying, hey, we want to get more top end talent that maybe pushes some of these other guys down a level.
Are you saying that the Mavericks will have
Dallas is going to get a seat at the table?
Oh God. The amount of people, shout out to the amount of people who replied to, when we had Nico on the pod the other day, we talked to him at practice, and the amount of people were like, hey, did you ask him if we had a seat at the table?
They're getting a seat at the table. What do you have any thoughts or moments of reasons for optimism for game 4?
Yeah, I mean, we no, listen, like, we have Luka, and you want to bet on, like, are we really going to have, I mean, now this is what 2 out of the 3 games of this series that our shooters have, just shot poorly. Like the first game, it was brutal. Then we come back to that second game and hit 21 threes. And ironically, I think it's kind of funny to laugh at now, saying ironically, it was after game 2 that everybody's like, live by the 3, die by the 3, and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, they hit 21 3-pointers. What are we talking about? And so it's like, and now we come back to this game in game 3, only hit 29% from 3.
Get murdered.
Yeah, so it's 2 out of 3 games in which our shooters have just haven't hit from the outside. So I think your optimism from it is saying, all right, 1, it's at home. The Mavericks, that's been a really cool thing about this playoff series or this playoff run, is the fact that they've won games at home this playoff. Like, last year they didn't win a single game at home. We're like, dang it, we got to wait another year for them to win a home playoff game. So it's at home, game 4. You have Luka Doncic, backs against the wall, and you want to bet on these shooters, these guys who've been shooting over 40% from 3, that they'll hit their shots again and they'll bounce back like they did in game 2. So I think that's your reason of optimism heading into game 4. However you feel. Yeah.
That plus Luka in an elimination game. I mean, he's been incredible in elimination games throughout his playoff career. 40, 30, like 39, like that. He's just put up a ton of points in elimination games, but yeah, that's your reason for optimism, is the reason why the Mavericks lost these games, is that the threes didn't fall. Threes didn't fall at a historic rate in games 1 and now in game 3. And so if they do fall and everything else goes right for you like it did in this game, then maybe, then you get a win in that in game 4. So those are your reasons.
It's true desperation now.
Like, well, now you also saw Spencer Dinwiddie have some success attacking. He was attacking and aggressive. Now sometimes he flew into the lane and was like, I'm just going to go in no matter what happens and drive at whoever is there, and I'm just going to try to go to the free throw line. And he did get to the free throw line 4 times, but he had some success finally attacking. He hit 4 threes, and then he was able to get inside and hit a couple of shots inside and get fouled a couple of times. You saw some success from him, so maybe that's something that you can build on to build a little bit more offense. And so now, if Luka, Brunson, and Dinwiddie are going, and then the shooters start, maybe start hitting a couple threes, and it regresses back to the, the way that it's been, then that's your recipe to win some games.
Yeah, I mean, you bounce back off the bench. Like, they just had 13 points off the bench the other night, and we're like, all right, they got to get more production off the bench. And Dinwiddie had 26. Max.
Well, they got 28 off the bench, but 26 of them came from one player. So
hey, but that 2 points from Bertans was that cool dunk, and
that was a moment where I thought that they could get back into the game too.
Yeah, but Dinwiddie having that bounce back game, was key for that. And yeah, I mean, they just desperately need that. I mean, it's sad when you look at the rest of the roster, because they had, just doing quick math here, 86 points between Luka, Brunson, and Dinwiddie. They only scored 100 total. So that means outside of those 3 guys, only 14 points was scored, and 9 of those 14 was Dorian. So you can even do it a step further from that and saying, the 3 guards and Dorian, scored 95 out of the 100 points for the Mavs. They just need a little bit more.
Is that bad?
I wouldn't say it's great. So but we'll see. We'll see if they bounce back. Obviously game 4 is coming up on Tuesday night, and it felt like at times in the second half tonight, it's like, man, I feel like this whole team's just like trying to catch their breath at the same time. It's like they've been hit with this kind of wave, and it's like, man, it's been a long run. For them, it's the first time in the conference finals since we've been covering the team, and since 2011. And it's such a cool learning experience. So I'm really curious to see how they respond. And let's get a dub at home on Tuesday night.
We'll be there no matter what. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.